Yes, my name's Chris Johnson. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but until I was about 15 years old, I actually lived in a small town down around Mammoth Cave called Brownsville, Kentucky. When I was 15 years old, we moved to Louisville, where I've been most of the time since then. So I graduated from Wagner High School in 1967 and went to school for a year or so trying to dodge the draft, but they caught up with me. And in 1968, I was drafted, sent to Fort Knox, where I did basic, and ultimately, after 11 months in the Army, which is pretty fast, I was elevated to the rank of E5, which is a sergeant. And then in April of 1969, my orders were to depart for Vietnam. Actually, I was what they called a track commander. I had a tank, and then I had guys underneath me. So after I left Fort Knox, I went to Vietnam. So we'd go out and check out all areas where they thought there were NVA. Sometimes there were, sometimes there weren't. Majority of the time when we worked with the Americans, the 4th, the 31st, 2nd, the 21st, there was really action, and that was numerous times where we did that. I can remember one other case where we had to be security for a convoy. We were coming back. We were caught in an ambush. And when that occurs, the best thing to do is just to fly right on through it, but this guy didn't do it. I started taking fire, and I could actually hear, I mean, just about feel the bullets going across right over my head. And that was quite an experience the first time. With that, I grabbed you call it, grenade launcher, and put a grenade in it. And I thought, I'll get somebody, you know. So I go, boop, and it goes right over my head. It hit a tree limb. And the machine gunners on the back said, "That's enough for you, bud." Probably the most memorable situation, though, was November 18th, 1969. We proceeded probably not even a quarter of a mile, and I was the 5th track in line. We started to move, and typically if there's going to be a mine ignite, it typically would happen on maybe the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd vehicle. Well, for some reason, I was the 5th one in line, and boom, I hit a landmine, and it probably a 400-pound bomb, I guess, but it actually took the vehicle and put a hole that big right underneath the driver's seat. He was killed instantly. Myself, I don't know how far I was thrown out, landed in the sand, here again on my neck and my shoulder, but nothing there. But I had cuts in my face, and I was burnt. My arms were burnt. Fortunately, no bones were broken or anything, but after that, after hitting the ground, I don't remember anything. I just know that I was trying to get back to the vehicle to see if everybody was all right, and I got right back to the vehicle when the medic just put me on the ground, and he said, "Let me take care of you and get you out of here." So come to find out, there was another guy that was one of the infantry guys was killed on the same vehicle. And my 2 machine gunners, I still remember them to this day, Charles Ramsey and, Larry Melgren. And they were on the ground, and they were just completely black. and so was I from the smoke from the bomb itself. And they had a dust-off chopper came out and picked us up and took us back into the base camp to the aid station. Some general or colonel or somebody came in and gave us all a Purple Heart. I was back on the base camp sometime late December, right before Christmas. Morning, they called me to the orderly room, Captain Harrison and First Sergeant Copeland, and they called me in. They said, well, we didn't think you would be back, number one. I said, well, yeah, I'm back. I'm ready to go. He says, well, you're not going back to the field. He says, we're going to put you in charge of the ammunition dump. So that in itself, especially on February the 20th, 1970, that was one day that I'm never going to forget, because I was all day long taking ammunition to the helipad and putting it on there, and the guys out in the field were with the 2nd of the 21st, and they got into a fight, and there was a small, I guess they said it might have been even part of a battalion of Vietnamese that they ran into in an ambush. And ultimately what happened was 13 F troopers were killed that day, which is tied, I know this sounds like a score of a ball game or something, but we've got 13 dead, and there were 2 other units that had 13 dead in another firefight. So we're like 7th among the instances where they lost people. So I won't forget that by any stretch. But I stayed at the base camp, and then I came my time to go. And fortunately, I got on a plane at July, and I went to Saigon, and I flew back to Fort Lewis, Washington. A couple of days after being there and getting checked out, I flew back into Louisville, and this was in May of '70, and I consider myself fortunate in the fact that I came home, and when I did, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, so I didn't catch any of the guff that most of the other guys were catching at the airport. It was virtually empty. So when I got home, I immediately took my uniform off, and it's been that way ever since.